Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Silenzio Bruno!
Can you still hear him?
Nope!
If you're a creative person, this is the best advice I can give you for your writing career. But let's hear it from Mike Jones, senior story and creative artist at Pixar Animation Studios and a co-writer of Soul and Luca.
So there's one moment that I loved about Luca. I'm Italian and I absolutely loved that movie. It's amazing. Throughout the movie, I was like thinking about my childhood in Italy. Anyway, a moment is Silenzio Bruno. It's interesting to learn how it came to be, but even more so how that applies as a writer, because after watching the movie, I thought, okay, this is my new mantra as a writer in the industry. Silenzio Bruno, keep writing, keep going. And so I want to hear a little bit, how do you face your Bruno? Who's your Bruno and as a writer? And were you able to silence him over your career? Or what do you do when you're blocked or you feel like you're not ready to move forward?
Well, Silenzio Bruno is fun. That is something that was in the movie even before I came onto it. And that was kind of an invention of the first writer, Jesse Andrews, who I worked with, and Enrico. And when I came on board, I felt we're not taking that out because it's just wonderful. It's just a beautiful thing. Like there were a lot of things that were already working so well on Luca before I came, including the ending where, those two boys like say goodbye. But I feel like I face my Bruno like every single day. And most of the Bruno in my head is that, are people going to be moved by this? Is this something redundant? Is this something we've already seen?
Alberto, you can't. Alberto, you're gonna die. Alberto, don't put that in your mouth.
I think with every writer, like you just, particularly in animation, sometimes you're kind of led toward cliche. And the fear of like resorting to a cliche in order to get to that emotion quicker is so tempting that the Bruno in my head will constantly tell me like, it's just a cliche. Like, it's just a cliche. We've done that before. Like they did that before in Toy Story 3. They did that before in Up, right? Like that kind of stuff. Like, so how do I turn it off? God, I don't know. I think it's, what helps me a lot is music. Like I do playlists for every single project I'm on, and I do extensive playlists that make me feel like this is the playlist that my characters would feel if they heard, right? It sets a tone for a project, and so I listen to a lot of music. That helps me. And sometimes I just don't write. Sometimes you don't need to write. Sometimes there's a time to write, and there's a time just to incubate. There's a time just to read. There's a time to like go into other people's story rooms and see what they're working on and help them out. This is also probably another Bruno, is this fear of that you always need to be creating, you always need to be writing, you always need to get to that next level. I think now that I'm a bit older, that fear is kind of receded a bit. That I know that when I'm fallow and it's time to go absorb the world, like we can kind of get stuck in our cages a little bit, right? Like even Pixar, like we have a beautiful campus in Emeryville, but that's not the world. We need to get out into the world, right? So I think it's about kind of revitalizing a little bit. And sometimes revitalizing is not writing at all.
So remember,
Don't listen to stupid Bruno.
now keep learning from Pixar storytellers by clicking on this playlist I put together for you. I'm Pietro, this is Write for Animation, and I'll see you in the playlist.